Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're tackling the world of addiction care, specifically how social service workers can really make a difference in supporting people dealing with substance use disorders. So we're going to be looking at some excerpts from week 11 of this course on client-centered care. And I think you'll agree it's got some pretty practical approaches in there. I find really fascinating about this model is how it puts the client front and center. It really makes them the expert in their own recovery, which is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, definitely a huge shift. We've come a long way from those older models where the professional was like the ultimate authority. Client-centered care is all about working together and empowering people.
So it's not about, the social worker just dictating a treatment plan. It's more about collaborating with the client, figuring out what's actually going to work for them in their life.
Exactly. It recognizes that addiction is different for everybody. And the path to recovery, well, this should be individualized too. It's about meeting people where they are at,
Yeah.
with empathy and understanding. That's at the heart of it all.
And the course material lays out some key principles. Individualized treatment plans, shared decision-making, focusing on the client's strengths. What I find interesting is how this approach seems to benefit both the client and the provider.
Absolutely. When clients feel heard and respected, they're more likely to trust their social worker and actively participate in their care. That leads to better communication, stronger relationships, and in the end, better health outcomes.
Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks. How do social workers actually put these principles into practice? We encounter clients at all different points in their journey.
Right, and understanding those stages is crucial. One thing we can do is help clients navigate the system. It can be tough to figure out all the different services and treatment options. And those options should be tailored to the client's individual needs and preferences. We pull from a variety of addiction models and approaches.
I'm looking at the list here, and there's a whole range.
Yeah.
What do you think stands out as particularly effective or relevant for social workers?
Well, withdrawal management services are essential for a lot of folks. They provide support and resources to help people through those initial withdrawal symptoms. And connecting clients with ongoing treatment and recovery resources is a key part of it.
And sometimes it's a requirement, right? Like you have to go through withdrawal management before you can get into certain treatment facilities. Which makes me think of Safe Access to Recovery in Ottawa. That program is incredible. They offer those services to anyone 16 or older. Knowing about programs like that and who they serve is so important for us.
For sure, it helps us make the right referrals and ensure our clients get the specific support they need. Now, another really important element is counseling. It's about helping people explore what's at the root of their substance use and develop healthy coping mechanisms. So we're talking about addressing things like trauma, mental health challenges, and all the complex emotional stuff that often comes with addiction.
It's about seeing the whole person, not just focusing on the substance use itself. Out of curiosity, what types of counseling do you find most effective in this client-centered care framework?
Well, it really depends on the person. There's no magic bullet. But approaches like motivational interviewing and solution-focused therapy fit well with this model. Motivational interviewing is all about collaboration and client autonomy. It helps individuals explore their own reasons for wanting to change. And solution-focused therapy is great because it focuses on strengths and building solutions tailored to the client.
So it's more about looking ahead and finding ways to move towards a healthier future.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget about medication. It can be a really powerful tool in recovery, especially when used with counseling and other forms of support.
Things like antabuse for alcohol dependence or Suboxone for opioid addiction, they can help with cravings, managing withdrawal symptoms, and just make the whole process more manageable.
Yeah, they can provide a safety net, especially early on. But it's important to remember medication alone isn't usually the answer. It works best as part of a comprehensive treatment plan.
Now let's talk about harm reduction. We hear that term a lot, but I think there are still some misconceptions about what it means.
Harm reduction is all about minimizing the negative consequences of substance use, even if the individual isn't ready or able to completely stop. It acknowledges that people use substances for different reasons, and judgment or forcing them to quit doesn't help.
It's about meeting people where they're at and offering support that aligns with their reality. Reducing harm, not necessarily eliminating substance use altogether.
Exactly. And it includes a wide range of strategies, from needle exchange programs to safer consumption sites, and even things like managed alcohol programs.
Can you explain managed alcohol programs a bit? I'm not sure all of our listeners are familiar with them.
Sure. A managed alcohol program provides individuals with a regulated amount of alcohol, often in a residential setting. It's a way to stabilize their drinking and reduce the harm associated with chaotic use.
Wow, I can see how that could be life-changing for someone struggling with severe alcohol dependence. It's about providing a safer alternative and hopefully preventing more serious consequences.
Precisely. Now, another important part of addiction care is peer support programs. They tap into the power of shared experience by connecting people in recovery with others who've been there.
Like Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. But it seems like there's a much broader spectrum of peer support initiatives out there now.
You're right. Peer support can take many forms, from mentorship and sponsor relationships to community integration programs and even overdose prevention initiatives.
What I find powerful is how it creates a sense of belonging and hope. It shows people they're not alone and that recovery is possible.
Absolutely. There's this unique understanding and empathy that comes from having lived through similar experiences. Peer support programs can be incredibly valuable resources.
And they can help people bridge back into the community, rebuild their lives, and reconnect with others. So we've talked about withdrawal management, counseling, medication, harm reduction, and peer support. I also see residential treatment programs listed. How do those fit into this model?
Residential treatment programs offer intensive structured support in a live-in environment. They're often a good option for people who need more immersive care, like those struggling with severe addiction, co-occurring mental health conditions, or lack of stable housing.
From what I've seen, these programs are usually abstinence-based, and they offer a range of therapies like individual counseling, group therapy, and family counseling. They often include things like life skills training and relapse prevention strategies.
Exactly. And it's interesting how some residential programs are specifically designed for certain groups, like indigenous communities, women, or families.
That shows how important it is to tailor treatment to the individual, considering their background, culture, and what supports they need. Now I think it's time to delve into a model that can help social workers understand where their clients are at and how to best support them. I'm talking about the stages of change model.
Great idea. That's a really key framework for understanding how change happens, and it's so relevant to addiction recovery.
My understanding is this model suggests change isn't linear. It's more of a cycle that people move through at their own pace.
Exactly. It recognizes that relapse is a normal part of the process for many people. And it's not a failure, but an opportunity to learn, adjust, and keep moving towards recovery.
So it's about not getting frustrated when a client seems stuck and using this model to meet them where they are and adjust our approach.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's dive into these stages a bit more. I think understanding the nuances can really change how we work.
Okay, let's start with pre-contemplation. That's when the person might not even see they have a problem or a need to change.
Right. They could be in denial, minimizing things, or maybe they're just overwhelmed by the thought of change. Past trauma or trying to recover and not succeeding can also play a role.
So how do we as social workers engage with someone at this stage without pushing them away or being judgmental?
Building that rapport and trust is so important. It's about creating a space where they feel safe to explore things without pressure. Sharing information about the risks of substance use can help, but it has to be done with empathy and not in a confrontational way. It might just nudge them towards contemplation.
It's like planting a seed and letting it grow at its own pace.
Exactly. Now, when someone moves into contemplation, they're starting to see there might be a problem, but they're not sure about changing yet. Maybe they're weighing the pros and cons, uncertain if they can do it, or even a little scared.
Sounds like they're at a crossroads.
That's a good way to put it. This is where motivational interviewing comes in. It helps people explore their reasons for wanting to change by connecting with their values and goals. A good social worker can guide them in a way that gives them the power to decide for themselves.
Instead of telling them what they should do, it's about helping them find their own why.
Right. And sometimes just acknowledging their mixed feelings and that it's okay to be scared can make all the difference. Then we have the preparation stage. This is where they start taking real steps towards change.
So this is where we can really offer practical support, help them make a plan, connect with resources, or brainstorm strategies.
Exactly. And remember, it's a collaboration. We work with the client to see what supports will actually help them, not push our own ideas on them. We can also help them set realistic goals and break down bigger goals into smaller steps.
Like being a coach, cheering them on and navigating the tough parts.
I like that analogy. Then comes the action stage, where the talk turns into action. They're actually putting their plan into motion and changing their behavior. It takes a lot of willpower, resilience, and support.
It can be a really tough stage, lots of ups and downs. What can we do to help them stay motivated and on track?
Celebrating their wins, no matter how small, is huge. It reinforces their progress and builds confidence. We can help them come up with ways to manage cravings and triggers and troubleshoot any bumps in the road.
So providing encouragement and holding them accountable is key.
Yes, and normalizing setbacks. If they slip up, it's not a failure, but a chance to learn and adjust. Now, with the maintenance stage, they've made changes and are working to keep them going. They've built new habits, coping skills, and feel more confident in managing their substance use.
It's like they've found a new normal. But it's still a process, right? They need to watch out for triggers and keep using those healthy coping skills.
You're absolutely right. And here's where social workers are important in helping them build a solid recovery plan. That might mean connecting them with support groups, helping them develop strategies for managing stress and healthy boundaries, or even just checking in and offering encouragement.
So even though they've come so far, we don't just abandon them.
Exactly. Continued support, even if it's less intense, can make all the difference in preventing relapse. And then there's the relapse stage. As we said, it's a normal part of the change process for many.
It's important to remember relapse doesn't erase all the progress.
Right, it's a setback, not the end. And our role as social workers is to help them see it as an opportunity for learning and growth. We can help them process what happened, figure out what contributed to it, and make a plan to get back on track.
Compassion and not judging them is so important. If they feel ashamed or blamed, they're less likely to ask for help.
Absolutely. We need to create an environment where they can be honest about their struggles and know we're there for them no matter what. Remember, recovery is a journey, not a destination. There will be twists and turns, bumps, and even detours. But with the right support, people can get through those challenges and reach their goals.
This has been so eye-opening. The Stages of Change model really adds a whole new level of understanding to addiction care. And it shows how important our role is in meeting clients where they are, providing tailored support, and celebrating their successes. This whole conversation has really got me thinking. I can totally see this model playing out in my own life.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, I'm trying to cut back on sugar. And honestly, I see myself going through those stages. Like sometimes I'm in total denial about how much I'm eating. Then I start thinking about my health and I go back and forth.
It's like a great example. It
Yeah.
just shows how this model applies to all kinds of change, not just addiction.
That's so true. And it makes it even more relevant for social work because we're often helping clients with all sorts of challenges, not just substance use.
For sure. Understanding these stages can help us be more effective, no matter what kind of change we're supporting.
It's like having a roadmap.
Exactly. And that's what makes this work so rewarding. We have the opportunity to help people make real positive changes in their lives. And those changes can impact their families, communities, even society as a whole.
It's not just about fixing one problem, it's about helping people build a better future for themselves.
That's a great way to put it. And I think it's a perfect point to wrap up on. Remember, you don't need all the answers to make a difference. Sometimes just listening, being there for someone, and connecting them to resources is huge.
And never underestimate the power of hope. Recovery is possible, and there are so many amazing people and programs out there dedicated to helping people on their journey.
Well said. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been great exploring these ideas with you.
And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. If this episode resonated with you and you're interested in learning more about client-centered care and the Stages of Change model, there are tons of resources available online and through professional organizations. We'll be sure to include some links in the show notes.
And remember, you're not alone. If you or someone you know is struggling with substance use, please reach out for help. There's support out there, and recovery is always possible.
That's right. Help is always available. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep the conversation going.